Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bobonomics. I'm Bobo, and this is the top 20 best free economies of 2020. This is a list of the best economies, in my opinion, based off of freedom and wealth. Keep in mind, this is going to be about economic freedom and prosperity. Some of these have limited social freedom, but here I'm evaluating their economy as a whole. Note that I'll be going in order. First place is going to be the best free economy, and 20th place is going to be the 20th best economy. While this is generally in order, I had some really close calls for some of them, so keep in mind the margin of error could be like plus or minus 3 rankings per country. Keep in mind these are the economies that I think are best for wealth creation, investment, business freedom, and human growth and innovation as a whole. They're not particularly the biggest countries or biggest economies. Now that I've laid out all the criteria, let's get started. Number 20 on the list is Qatar. Qatar is ranked 31 on the Heritage Foundation Economic Freedom Index. It has no minimum wage, low taxes, and is relatively business friendly, but it has too many restrictions and human rights violations that can restrict true economic growth and trade. Though Qatar is consistently one of the richest countries in the world every year, it gets the 20th spot because it's dependent on oil and also has some of these restrictions I've mentioned. Number 19 is Netherlands or Holland. Netherlands is up here because it consistently ranks high for business friendliness. It also has a diverse economy and generally high standard of living. Though Netherlands does have a federal minimum wage law and other investment restrictions, it's ranked 14th on the Economic Freedom Index. Next is Estonia, which also consistently ranks high on business friendliness and ease of business, all of these things. Though Estonia is relatively less known and small, it ranks number 10 on the Economic Freedom Index. Estonia is a pretty wealthy country, and it also has one of my favorite flags. Number 17 on the list is Sweden. Sweden's ranked number 22 on the Economic Freedom Index and has consistently been mostly free and has ease of business going good for it. However, its GDP growth has not been crazy great, and there is a lot of government spending that goes along that holds it back. Number 16 on my list is Taiwan. Taiwan is a stark contrast from mainland China, and it's usually carrying China in a lot of ways and is economically free in trade and provides lots of goods and services. It's relatively business friendly, and it ranks number 11 on the Economic Freedom Index. Number 15 is Norway. Norway is often considered to be the best economy in the world. I don't rate it quite that high, but it's still pretty great. It has a high GDP per capita. It's pretty dependent on oil, but it's also diverse in other ways. It has almost no trade barriers, it has good ease of business, and it's ranked number 28 on the Economic Freedom Index. Number 14 is one of my favorite countries, Finland. Like many other countries on this list, Finland has positive GDP growth, no federal minimum wage, and overall good ease of business. It's ranked 20th on the Economic Freedom Index and could be improved with cuts in taxes, cuts in government regulation, and better labor markets. Number 13 on the list is Canada. Canada ranks number 9 on the Economic Freedom Index and is overall consistently very business friendly and has good fiscal health and things like that. It's a little lower on this list because it doesn't have as diverse or plentiful of an economy, but for its position it's ranked well and it's economically free. It also does have a federal minimum wage and heavy government spending. Number 12 on the list is Australia. Australia is the first country featured on this list that is top 6, which is free on the Economic Freedom Index. It's ranked number 4. The reason Australia is ranked so low compared to its economic freedom ranking is that it's not really the best in anything, and it still has lots of social regulation that can prevent some economic exchange. It could be higher, but at this point in the list, they all get really close. Number 11 on the list is the United Kingdom. On the Economic Freedom Index, the UK is ranked number 7. The reason it's a little lower than its Economic Freedom Index is that it's very big and has some pretty restrictive areas, but in general, it's very economically free and business friendly. Like Australia, the UK isn't really the best at anything, and it has lots of licenses that you have to overcome to start businesses, and it also has a decent tax burden and government spending problem. It also has a federal minimum wage. They could be getting better, but we'll see how it goes. And now we're going to be getting into the top 10 best free economies in the world. But first, let's do some honorable mentions. These countries did not make the list, but they could be very close. Just some of them are lacking opportunity or are still growing, or are just big but not the most economically free yet. Here you'll see all the honorable mentions: United Arab Emirates, Mauritius, Japan, Georgia, Lithuania, Chile, Austria, South Korea, Brunei, and Germany. I really like these countries for unique reasons, but they just weren't free enough or successful enough to make the list. They all have great potential though. Alright, moving on to the best economies in my opinion. Number 10 on the list, we have Iceland. Iceland is ranked number 13 on the Economic Freedom Index. It's great for ease of business, it's a very wealthy country, but suffers from the same problems of other countries in its region, mainly countries like Finland and Norway that it's compared to. Number 9 on the list is Denmark. Denmark is a very capitalist and market-based economy that is better than some of its regional neighbors, and it has very good ease of business. Denmark also has no federal minimum wage, but its excessive tax burden and huge government spending burden is what's holding them back. Despite this, they're still ranked number 8 on the Economic Freedom Index. Number 8 on the list is Ireland. Ireland not only has lots of production, but it has very low taxes, making it one of the richest countries in the world. They offer economic opportunity in various industries, and they have a good global standing, which makes their economy great for freedom and business. Number 7 on the list is Luxembourg. Luxembourg is one of the most libertarian countries in the world, and it's also one of the richest countries in the world. It's ranked number 19 on the Economic Freedom Index. It would be higher if they didn't have such a high tax burden and unsustainable government spending, and they also have a relatively high federal minimum wage, which would make it go up on my list if it didn't have that. Despite this, they're extremely free trade and free enterprise. Number 6 on the list is New Zealand. New Zealand is one of the easiest countries in the world to do business in, and it's ranked high on the Economic Freedom Index. Though it has some social regulatory burden that can stop free exchange, it's ranked number 3 on the Economic Freedom Index. It's overall a very wealthy country, and it has low trade barriers. Now, we're entering into the top 5 best economies in the world, and number 5 on the list is the United States of America. The reason the USA is so high on my list, even though it's ranked 17 on the Economic Freedom Index, is that it has so many states that vary from the federal level. For example, California, Connecticut, Illinois are pretty poor places to do business, but New Hampshire and Texas would be very high up on this list if they were their own countries. If a state like Florida could be its own country, it would easily be top 3 on this list, so I had to put US in the top 5. The US overall is just a monster of an economy. It's the biggest economy in the world and offers so much opportunity in various different industries. Its biggest problem is probably its fiscal health and government spending, but as we've seen, this affects a lot of countries, so it's not unique to them. It has a federal minimum wage, but it's very low, so it doesn't affect many industries, which is why it goes up to the states most of the time, and its tax burden is pretty low for a country of its high standard. You can call me biased because I live in the US, but to this day it still has lots of opportunity, and it's the biggest economy for a reason. Compared to the other largest economies like Brazil, Japan, China, and India, the US is the best and it's generally free. This is why these rankings can be difficult because some states across the country can vary greatly from states on the other side of their country, but I think I stand by this and I hope I defended it well. I only add this disclaimer because I expect this to be one of the more controversial picks, but the fact remains that the US is generally free and it's a very successful economy. Anyway, enough about the US. Number 4 on the list is Hong Kong. Many people consider Hong Kong to have the freest economy in the world. While I generally agree, it has its problems by being beholden to China lots of the times, and it's also not exactly the richest country or anything, so I can't put it as the best free economy. Due to the fact that it's not the wealthiest country or anything, and it has some political turmoil, I'll put it at 4th, even though it's ranked number 2 on the Economic Freedom Index. Number 3 on the list is Singapore. This also may come to a shock to some of you guys, because Singapore is ranked number 1 on the Economic Freedom Index. The reason Singapore is number 3 on my list is the fact that the government basically calls a lot of the shots and owns a lot of the land. Although their government is efficient and has been market friendly so far, the fact that they have the power means that they could mess things up in the future. Regardless, Singapore remains very wealthy and is one of the most open market countries in the world, if not the most open. They create a lot of wealth and allow for a lot of trade, so they deserve a high spot on this list. And number 2 on the list is Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a huge international hub of trade and investment. It virtually has no natural resources, but the fact that it's so free market and capitalist has attracted lots of investment, and now it's the hub of big corporations. Liechtenstein has been the wealthiest country in the world for multiple years and has a very high GDP per capita. It's generally free, has no minimum wage, and has very low taxes. One of the only things keeping it from being number 1 is that it's technically a monarchy, but I think that's more symbolic. Regardless, the fact that it's small means that it doesn't have as much influence or opportunity as the number 1 pick. Funny enough, Liechtenstein actually doesn't even have an economic freedom ranking because there's just not that much information on them, so that's also why I can't confidently put them at number 1. They've been on the list, but they've just been listed as NA for their ranking. And finally, the best free economy in the world as of 2020, in my opinion, is Switzerland. Switzerland is famous for its banking and freedom, and it's consistently top 20 for GDP per capita. It's ranked number 5 in economic freedom and has a generally high ease of business score every year. Switzerland is one of the most libertarian countries in the world, and even with a lot of government spending which could hold them back a bit, they still have budget surpluses many years. Overall, Switzerland is known for being one of the most capitalist and expensive countries in the world. It has a very strong and very free economy, and it's an easy top 5 lock every year. Anyway guys, that's the end of the rankings. Keep in mind these are my opinions, but the numbers are real and I'll link the sources below. As always, thank you all for watching, and please let me know what you think should be changed and if you think any rankings are incorrect. I was really torn on some of them. Thank you so much for watching guys. If you learned anything new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As always, hope you guys have a great day.